That's right, folks. We are
back once again
with another classic house tune this week for you. It was released in 1995 by a Mr. Wildchild, also known as Roger Mackenzie. The song is called
Renegade Master.
And what we're going to do today, for you especially, is talk a bit about
Renegade Master.
and look at the samples that are contained within,
Renegade Master.
of which there are some hip-hop classics in there. So be warned, it's going to be a fun show. You might just learn something. Why don't we get stuck in, right? And before we do that, let's give it another listen.
Renegade Master. Back once again for the Renegade Master. Back once again for the Renegade Master. Back once again for the Renegade Master.
Brilliant song, right? And yeah, like I said, it's a classic. Probably all know this one, or you've heard it in some shape or form, but to me it was always a bit elusive, right? I guess because of the era of CDs mainly, I think is what comes to mind, is hearing this on a CD in someone's house or somewhere, and you just wanted it, but it was before the internet, right? So you couldn't just find it or buy it, or you didn't even know the name of it. You're just hearing this song and it's putting something inside you, and you're like, I need to find that. So that's what I think of when I think of this song. And then one time at a house party a few years later, when YouTube exists, boom, you see the name and you realize you can then listen to it whenever you want. Isn't that amazing, right? The digital era, but also something about that elusive physical copy still sticks in my brain. But anyway, we're digressing. Wildchild, aka Roger Mackenzie from Southampton, and the time he was making music was when house music was blossoming, right? A little seed had traveled over from Chicago and planted itself in the UK and other places, right? It was spreading like a beautiful virus, if you will. Roger was making this groovy kind of house music that was the OG, I guess you could call it garage, but it was the UK flavor. So he was definitely one of the pioneers here. This song's called Jump to My Beat. That's what I mean by that kind of syncopated percussion groove, a bit different to the heavy 4 on the floor. Roger got stuck in, right? There's another really cool part of this song at the end. Right? He's got the breaks in there as well. This is music colliding and genres fusing and whatever you want to call it. So he was a bit of a hip hop head. Obviously loved a bit of Aretha Franklin too. You know that tune, Jump to It? Jump to It by Aretha Franklin. Sample sideline. Great tune. Great synth bass there that he sampled for this. But anyway, we're not talking about that today. But this is a good example to me of the groovy breaks infused house songs that he was doing. And of course we got Renegade Master, right? Like I said, this song had 2 releases, right? Sort of 3 or 4 even, if you will. But the first one was like an instrumental. So it was this kind of track without the vocals, and that charted at some point in the early 1995. He added the Renegade Master words and re-released it at the end of the year, and it was a big hit, right? Made it to, I think, number 11. And it has that really catchy just vocal loop there. Unfortunately, Roger passed away shortly after, so he left a huge legacy and was just getting going at the age of 24. He passed away due to heart conditions, which is just a bit grim, you know? That's what life can be like. It just can take you whenever it decides. So rest in peace, Roger. You're an absolute legend. And your legacy still lives on through this tune amongst others.
For the renegade master with the ill behavior. D4 damage or power to the people.
Super catchy, right? Then in 1998, our buddy from Bromley, Fatboy Slim, came along and remixed it in his signature big beat style. And it got a bit of new life then again.
Renegade master, D4 damage with the ill behavior. Back once again for the renegade master. D4 damage, power to the people. Back once again for the renegade master. D4 damage with the ill behavior. Back once again for the renegade master. D4 damage.
Go on, Fatboy, Mr. Cook. Let him cook, as they say. That brought new life to it again, and some people think of that as the song, but we're talking about the original house song on this show. So like I said, right, it's drenched in hip-hop. It's basically 3 hip-hop tunes stacked on top of each other, wearing a trench coat, getting into the club to be a house song, right, if you want to use that analogy. And that's what's really cool about it. Wildchild was obviously a crate digger and loved hip-hop. So enough about this intro stuff. Why don't we take a look at the samples, shall we?
Can you feel it? Nothing can save you.
The first sample we're going to take a look at is, of course, the vocals. Has to be done. Who was the Renegade Master? What were they saying? What track was it from? Why am I here? These are all questions you're asking, and I'm going to answer them, right? But first, hop in the time machine with me, and let's travel to New York in 1990s, early. That's right, hip-hop was blowing up in the early 90s, and there was a group of lads in New York that were driving a big part of it. The Gritty Geezers, as they didn't like to be called. But it included Pete Rock, Chuck D, Marley Marl, and one of the rappers was called Adore. This is his tune, Let It All Hang Out, with Pete Rock. Let's give that a listen first.
Let it all hang out. Cause they got what's your life. Cause they got what's your life.
A special prize to the first person to name that sample down in the comments. Right? It's pretty easy to identify. But anyway, let's try and hear Adore doing some rapping.
Come on, feel the vibe from the rhythms that break the devil's ties. A feeling of good times, musical highs. Rhythm, harmony, soul skills, and that put together for the master plan is surely to attract.
Amazing skills, and that is such a like early 90s kind of flow. Love to hear it. So yeah, he was part of that crew of the East Coast. His name was Eddie Castellanos, but also went by ADOR, which stood for Another Dimension of Rhythm, I believe. And he, yeah, was part of this movement, and the song that Wildchild sampled was called One for the Trouble. So Wildchild was obviously into hip-hop, right? You heard some of the breaks on other tunes, and he heard this song, and something stood out to him, right? And it wasn't just the sick beat, it was the lyrics, right? But first of all, let's give that beat a listen. Very cheeky East Coast boom bap style. But what you need to listen to know is the words. Listen carefully.
Back once again with the ill behavior, can you feel it? Nothing can save you, it's the A4 ally, D4 damager, O4 out of here, R for the renegade master. Of all I survey, check it straight out the slums, so no roads to portray, just sexual.
There you go. There you have it. That's the sample that Wildchild plucked out of a gritty hip-hop banger by someone who wasn't happy with what was going on, right? And he put it on a record, which is great. Listen to this.
Power to the people that struggle every day. The East Coast Mecca shore is where I stay. When I had no loot, I used to cool around my way. Call up a peace.
That's right, a bit of anger at the nation. No harm in that, folks, right? Direct it. Get creative with your anger, just like he did. And that's where, back once again for the Renegade Master, comes from, is this track. So, what he did was he got the acapella, right? We've seen that in a few episodes before. You strip out the music and you get the vocal track, and he sampled that. So let's do the same thing, right? We are ready to sample But first of all, before we do that, you know, I gotta introduce the boss man, Dr. Sample. Are you feeling good about this song? What do you think of this song? Are you ready to sample it?
I'm so excited.
Damn. Well, that's fantastic, right? So you think we're gonna do well?
We'll have a good time, baby, don't you worry.
Okay, I'm excited to. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited.
And so are you. Right, we're getting into it. Let's sample in the acapella of One for the Trouble. That's what we gotta do, right?
Time. One for the trouble.
Acapellas were released and people took them and mashed them up with other records and sampled them and all sorts of stuff. They're great tools, so please provide acapellas as often as you can.
One for the trouble, two for the time. One for the trouble, two for the time. One for the trouble, two for the time.
Back once again with the ill behavior, can you feel it? Nothing can save you, it's the A4 ally, D4 damager, O4 out of here, R for the renegade master.
Master. So we have that now. Let's resample, right? We have that vocals. We're going to need at least 4, I believe. So let's resample in so we can capture each bit.
One for the trouble, two for the time.
Back once again with the ill behavior, can you?
So we're backwards again with the ill behavior. Let's do that again.
One for the
Oops.
one for the trouble, two for the time.
Back once again with the ill behavior, can you feel it?
Can you feel it? You didn't sample Can You Feel It? That might have been cool, right? So we got
One for the trouble, two for the time.
Back once again, back once again, back once, back once again,
One for the trouble, two for the time.
back once again with the ill behavior, with the ill behavior, back once again with the ill behavior, back once again with the ill behavior.
right. We got 2 of them already. We're getting there. Our progress bar is going up. Then he's got the bit that's A4 ally, D4 damager, O4 out of here, R for the renegade master. That's what he was saying. He was spelling out these different things that his name can stand for. Of many, I believe there's a few he's done. So let's get that bit in.
One for the trouble, two for the time.
Back once again with the ill behavior, can you feel it? Nothing can save you, it's the A4 ally, D4 damager, O4 out of here, R for the renegade master.
Right?
D4 damager, O4 out of
Let's resample that back in to 8. Number 8.
D4 damager, O4 out of here, R for the renegade master.
So we have
D4 damager, O4 out of here, R for the renegade master. For the renegade master. D4 damager,
I'm going to gate that one, right? Because
D4 damager.
that's a gate, right? The rest of them are one shots.
Back once again with the ill behavior for the renegade master.
And then I'm gating D for damager, and you'll see why when I do it now. But before that, there's one other bit. Power to the people. Let's get that in here. Where does that come in? Somewhere around.
Mass dollar frustration, just another product of the anger in the nation. Now I get paid for my jazzy sensation, and I drop bombs for my generation. Peace to the crews from New York to LA. Power to the people that struggle every day.
Power to the people that struggle every day. What a line. Fair play.
New York to LA. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people.
Now we've got 5 bits.
Back once again with the ill behavior for the renegade master. Power to the people. D4 damager.
So it's
Back once again for the renegade master. D4 damager. Power to the people. Back once again for the renegade master. D4 damage with the ill behavior.
there you go. First try. No warm up. Well, I did try it when I practiced a bit earlier, but there we go.
Back once again for the renegade master. D4 damager. Power to the people. Back once again for the renegade master. D4 damage with the ill behavior.
Apologies, folks. My darling wife came in there and started talking to me about something, so I got distracted. But I am
Back once again.
to talk about these samples. There's 5 of them, and like I said, one of them is gated. So the gate means when you press it, it opens and it closes. So
D4 damager. D4.
that's opens as long as you press it. The rest are one shot, so I just tap them.
Back once again for the Renegade Master.
What Wildchild did was he used D4 damager, and then he said D4 damage with the ill behavior.
D4 damager. D4 damage with the ill behavior.
So he kind of was playing that on his own sampler, right? Which is cool. All those together gives us that infamous vocal hook. And it reminds me a bit of the Blah 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 episode, Gigi D'Agostino, where you don't really know what is being said, but it makes a bit more sense when you chop it up. But anyway, what I think we should do is get the drums in so we can play it ourselves. I think that was a one-shot wonder. SP's done it again. Right, let's go.
Back once again for the Renegade Master. With the ill behavior. Back once again for the Renegade Master.
Way too slow. So what we're going to do now is we're going to tweak the speed of each of them to the speed we need.
Back once again. Back once again. Back once again. Back once again. For the Renegade Master. 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 D4 damage. D4 damage. D4 damage. D4 damage. D4 damage. With the ill behavior. 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 Power to the power to the people. 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 Power to the people.
That didn't need to be slowed down much.
Power to the people. Power to the people. Back once again for the Renegade Master. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damager. Power to the people. Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damage with the ill behavior. Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damager. Power to the people. Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damage with the ill behavior. Back once again.
Nice. So that's the vocals sorted. Why don't we move on and talk about the next sample? For this next sample, we are going from East Coast hip hop to West Coast, from New York to California, IA. And then Mr. Del the Funky Homo Sapien is doing his thing, and it sounds like this.
Don't you agree? The little two-timer resembles Aunt Jemima with jeans and a dirty white hoodie. Seems like he wouldn't be a snake, or would he? Disguises come in all sizes and shapes. Notice the facade of the snakes. They all catch.
That's Mr. Dabalina. And that was his style, right? He was hanging out with a bunch of rappers in the West Coast, including his cousin, Ice Cube. Funny story. While Ice Cube and a lot of people were going down the gangster path, like NWA, Del was more alternative, right? He liked rapping about spirituality, skateboarding, video games, sci-fi, which I'll get to in a sec. So he was a bit more alternative, right? Nothing wrong with that at all. And he would have kind of introduced that to a lot of other artists and led the way for artists like Tyler the Creator or others that were more alternative in the future or now in the past, whatever you want to say. Take a listen to this song, speaking of the future. They released an album called Deltron 3030. I know it from Tony Hawk's Underground, which, as I've said before, is an absolute gold mine of a soundtrack if you like alternative hip-hop. Remember the Unseen Quasimodo? That was on that too. But this song, 3030, will blow your mind. what a beat. I said I'd have to play that one, and I have to play another bit coming up. This was a sort of a concept space opera, alternative hip-hop storytelling album with Del and his buddy Dan the Automator, right, who was a producer. And funny story, you might have heard his voice on another big track.
It's our music we must take back. Yo, it's 3030. I want y'all to meet Deltron Zero and Automator. Yo, it's 3030. I want y'all to meet.
Had to play that part. Sorry, I got sidetracked. But anyway, Dan the Automator introduced Del to Gorillaz, right? Old Damon, for one of their first tracks, Clint Eastwood. You probably remember hearing Del on that, right? Finally, someone let me out of my cage. Right? He's got a very distinct voice, but that's the story there anyway. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here, folks. Let's bring it back. And we are going to play Eye Examination from Del the Funky Homo Sapien. Now, Roger, our buddy, Mr. Mackenzie, Wildchild, had a bunch of hip-hop records, and he had Eye Examination, and he did the classic thing we're all guilty of, sampled from the beginning of the record. So let's play the beginning of that record. Did you hear that? That's a bass line in this track. And the producer of this track, who I don't know, is it here? I don't know. But anyway, I don't think it was Dan the Automator. I'll check. They got this bass from a Jefferson Airplane song. Psychedelic hippies in the 60s who were also shouting about power to the people and struggling in the nation in a different way. They had that bass line. So funny side sample for you. I'm not going to go down the wormhole because this is taking ages. I'm going to sample in that bass line. But let's give it a quick listen.
Him deal with the dealers and the squealers and the jockeys. I can take the fizz out the carbonated copies. Imprints are made in the sand as I walk.
Classic Del. So let's get in that bass line, shall we? So there's a weird guy talking over it, like, but we can isolate it. So there, we're going to use that. And it's a wobbly kind of bass. It's cool, right? Which kind of gives that garage sound, but it was sampled, not using a synth or anything. Let's get it over our drums that we have. It's not perfect, but it will work. Why don't we resample that? So, like I say, whenever I use isolator or any of these things, I always want to resample because that will just go. So let's recapture that down here. And let's mark that nicely. So we have
Back once again with the ill behavior. With the ill behavior. Power to the people. Power to the people. Back once again for the renegade master. With the ill behavior. D4 Damager. Power to the people. Back once again for the renegade master.
happy with that for demonstration purposes. There's one more sample. Let's get it in here. The third and final sample we're looking at today comes from, yes, you guessed it, another hip hop tune. Wildchild loved the hip hop. And our time machine is still around the early 90s, but it's now gone from New York over to California, and it's looped back around and it's landed in New York again, where in addition to that gritty stuff, there was a lot of funky rap and a lot of hip-hop groups. Think De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Cypress Hill, etc. Lords of the Underground were one of these groups, right? And they had a very funky sound. Take a listen to Chief Rocka. Great stuff. I love the kind of energy, flow, funkiness that a lot of these groups had, and it's all boom bap, sampley kind of stuff, and the flow.
Boom, shakalaka, I got the fragrance, the funk, and it's smelling up the hip hop. A little bit of this, a little bit of that mixed up.
He said it there, the funk is smelling up the hip hop. Love to hear it. And off the same album as this, I believe, Here Come the Lords, there's a track called Funky Child that Wildchild, the funky Wildchild you might say, sampled. And I thought there was an interesting Samperu o Sagasu in this, a double sample there. So I'm going to play first the sample that went into the hip hop song that was then resampled again for Renegade Master. But this is the Tom Bell Orchestra, a theme for LA's team. Which comes from a movie called The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. Right? Listen to this bit at the end. So there you go, that crazy horn line there was sampled in Lords of the Underground.
The year is 1971. Now comes the first of the children of Rotund, Lords of the Underground.
Isn't that cool? And that is the horn that plays in Wildchild. It comes from this hip hop banger.
With the style from the birth connect, and now I got the right to make the crowd go wild. So dig it, watch me kick it. I'm taking no shorts unless it's coming from a midget.
So that horn, and I believe that exact bit was also sampled in stuff like Talib Kweli, French Montana, amongst others, but it was in here, and that's what Wildchild picked out. So we need to sample that in as well. Let's do that
Year
here.
is 1971. Now comes the year is 1971. Now
And it's a bit,
now
I don't want to know. So I know SP, relax. the reason he's doing that is he's excited because we're now using Bank C. So Bank D has been filled up, right? We have these 8 bits.
Back once again with the ill behavior.
And that's filled everything up. I've used C to get some more space. So doesn't quite sound right. What we need to do is, why don't we resample And then we can... And then we can... slow it down maybe. Where's that? Where is going? Hup. I'm gonna do that because I don't know how else to do it. So let's put a reverb on. I don't know, this is taking me way longer than I planned, so let's just resample that in and call it a day. So right, we have everything now. Roger, in fairness to him, took in the vocals.
Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damager. Power to the people with the ill behavior.
He took in the bass line and made that on top of his drums to get this. Finally, he sampled a little bit of Lords of the Underground to give him this horn. Right? All together, it sounded a bit like this.
Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damager. The ill behavior. Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damage with the ill behavior. Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damager. Power to the people. Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damage with the ill behavior. Once again for the Renegade Master. Power to the people. Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damage with the ill behavior. Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damager with the ill behavior. Back once again for the Renegade Master. Power to the people. Power to the people. D4 damager. Power to the people. D4 damage with the ill behavior. D4 damager. Power to the people. D4 damage with the ill behavior. Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damager. Power to the people. Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damage with the ill behavior.
That's it, folks. This has been a long trek to get here, but I'm glad. I don't know if you did, actually. I can't be glad, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm glad I got through it in the end. I need to plan these a bit better, but I had fun either way. Hope you did too. Please subscribe right? Please tell me a bit of a story about Renegade Master in the comments. That's what I love to hear. And please request some other songs that you feel you'd like to understand the samples behind or just hear a bit about. Have a great time. I will be
Back once again.
with more tunes next week. Mind yourself and continue to be a...
Renegade Master.
Have a good one.